Hello everyone, welcome back to another video by Clip on my YouTube channel, and this week I'm gonna speak about my two favorite methods for building the Psytrance arrangement. So there are two methods which I think are the best. The first one is my default method, in which is just my natural way when I sit in front of the computer, and it is some natural flow that I like to build my tracks. While the second method I came up to when I tried to save a bit of my time, as I became a father, so there's not much of the time left. So I tried to use my time as most efficient as possible. So I tried to find a better way to save up a little bit of my time, and actually the second method showed up a much faster way. These two methods are for a progressive Psytrance and a full-on, while Dark Psy and a forest would require another video. Method number 1, the first stage. My main method, or my default method, is a process in which the first stage is to build a drum template or use any pre-made drum templates as a start point. This process will usually last for a while, as it will require a few sessions to build, adjust or customize the template to get different sounding results from a track to track and avoid having the same sounding tracks all the time. Also, I usually play around for a few days to find the proper groove for a track, which will require changing the bassline notes and playing around with the different bassline settings in order to get a proper groove, or to better say, to get a groove that will drive me. This is a really important part of the process, as the groove is something that will last for at least 70% of a track, and the track with a greater groove is already a good track. As you already know, the hardest part of this process is how to make the Psytrance kick in the bass. I wish I could explain how to do this properly in a few lines, but as you already know, this part requires a lot of knowledge and experience to be done properly. As you already might be aware, I have a full course or class regarding this topic, where you can learn everything you need to know about building the Psytrance kicks and the basses. In order to customize the groove to be as close as possible to perfection, the skill of switching from the producer to a listener is an important part, as being a producer requires listening to the details and small changes, while in the listener mode, we should pay attention to the track as a whole. This is one of the hardest skills to develop, to switch from a producer to a listener and forgetting about the details for a while, but there are the methods that can help you in this process. My method is usually listening on a Bluetooth headphones while I go for a walk, walking the dog, or I cook something in the kitchen, or have any other activities. Not being in the studio helping me a lot, while it is pretty hard for me to go into the listener mode while listening in the studio. Being in the studio and listening will be a challenge for me not to immediately change something in a track, and not listening to the track as a whole and stopping it all the time will push me away from being able to get the real track flow. Stage number 2. After making the groove section, the drums all together with the bass line and maybe a few risers and a hits, the next step in this method is extending the drum sections to around 60 seconds or to around 32 bars. In the first 8 bars, I would let only the kick and bass to play. In the second 8 bars, I would most likely play the kick and bass with the closed hi-hat. In the third 8 bars, I would play all drums all together with all hi-hats, just without the open hat. And in the last 8 bars, I would play all the drums all together with the open hi-hat. That way I would get a short flow or a small arrangement development in a track. After extending the drums, I would be concentrating on giving some light to a track by printing out some atmospheres and the single shot sounds. This step is maybe the most fun of them all, and it can last for a while, as I already know that after this step everything becomes more serious and it requires more concentration. The first 2 steps are in 2 dimensions, as we are playing in a loop mode, and the time of a track will be resetted every time it comes to the end of a loop, and that way making it infinite. While after this step, when we pass to the building the intro, we have created the start point of a track, which will push it out of the loop and we will create a track flow. This is for me the hardest decision to make, or in most cases I avoid switching to the next stage, as adding the extra dimension to the track, everything will become harder and more serious. In the second step, jamming around and printing as many sounds as possible is just an enjoyable process, and it does not require any responsibility, as we are in the loop and every decision can be changed easily. While in the next step, we will start to make some final decisions that will require much more responsibility. So the third stage. In this stage, I already have a lot of sound designs and single shot sounds which are creating the atmosphere. And now there is a crucial moment when the track is moving forward, and in this stage I find it really important to have the intro. An intro is a great way to build the track flow, and the track flow is maybe the most important happening while developing a track, as the track flow is the way of communication in which a track is giving direction or information to the producer as to how the track should be developed. Track flow is a part of inspiration or the part of the music production when the track starts to tell a story, and the best way to turn on this momentum is by building the intro. After this, everything is getting easier, as there will be some instructions directly from the track itself. I would say that this stage is when the track is getting its intelligence and life. Now we are moving to the fourth stage, and now with the 60 seconds loop or 32 bars loop all together with the intro, with a decent number of single shot sounds and the atmospheres, it is time to create some sequences. The difference between sequences and second stage elements is that the single shot sounds or the atmospheres are the segments that are being fired. They are fired once at a time and they have the beginning and the end. In contrast, the sequences are the elements that are being looped, the elements that are being repeated in the time period. This can be anything from stubs, arps, plucks, bass shots, percussions, blips or clicks, or any other types of the sound. But as they are being looped, they are going to a specific category. These sequences are storytellers. They will be the first after the groove and the atmosphere to happen and to create some story. Groove is a background, the element that is moving us and makes us dance. Single shots are there to create the atmosphere, while sequences are the first elements that will create a story. They are the storytellers. Now we are moving to the fifth stage. As with the previous four stages, we should have to around half of the track done. We arrive to the point of the main break of a track, and in this moment there should be some decisions on how the track will stop. This is an important part from the arrangement point of view, as this part is the moment when we are creating the energy contrast in a track. And if you follow my tutorials and my courses, then you should already be aware of the importance of the contrasts. This is the moment when we will bring the track to the lower energy level, and this is the moment when we will have more creative freedom. In the parts where the kick and bass are running, we can play with the sound designs and the atmospheres and storytellers, while in the breaks, we can be freer about our writing. We can add more elements and more chord progressions, and there will be much more space for all other elements to happen. Now moving to the sixth stage and choosing the main happening of a track or the part after the break. In most cases, the period in the track where we're going to point. In most cases, this is the moment when the main happening of the track is going to happen, and this is most likely the highest energy point of a track. This is the part where we are going to use our main theme of a track and push it to the maximum level. This part will be the point part, and after this step, we can say that we have our first version of a track done. This will be the general 6 stages for the first method. Now, the second method would have all the 6 stages just in a different order. After the first step and building the drum template, the second part in the second method would be to extend the whole drum sections as a full track length. This can be done by copying some of your previous track arrangements or replicating arrangement from a track that you like. This extending will not necessarily be the final one, but it will be a good way for getting the shape of the whole track arrangement, as that way in the next step we could start a track from the intro, and the second stage would already create a track flow. This method is really good for saving your time from making more atmospheres and single shot sounds than it's needed, and it is a perfect method for creating a groove-oriented tracks. The tracks that are more dry and the tracks that are more oriented to the groove as their main lead in a track. After extending the drum template to the full-length track and making an intro, the next stage will be filling up the track, playing the track from the beginning and then adding just enough sounds as you feel it needs. When you feel that something needs to happen on a specific spot, make a stop and add that sound that you had in mind. This method showed as a much faster way for me to finish the tracks. I usually need from 1 month up to unlimited amount of time to finish a track by my default flow, while after switching to this method, I finished up the track much faster, and only after a week working on one track I already had the first final version. So these were my two favorite methods, and the idea behind this video is maybe to show you different ways or how you can make your music, as you can also try to change the way or the approach how you make your own music, and that way you might come up to some really nice techniques, and maybe it will save you a little bit of time, but also maybe it will change your music in a way that you like it as well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon with another video.